Welcome. There's Garrett Hedlund next to you. There's Kristen Stewart. Welcome. Welcome, Sam Riley. And welcome once again to Cannes, Kirsten Dunst. Welcome back. You won the Best Actress Award last year. So Walter Salles, we're going to try and say a few words about this film, which everybody's been waiting for. I mean, you've taken the original scroll that you chose to adapt rather than the actual facts. Well, I think we're all fascinated by this book, by the freedom it was announcing, by the way in which he looked at sex and drugs as being ways of understanding the world through movement as knowledge. And this is what unites us all around the table here. I think great respect for Kerouac and the desire to drive this through. And Coppola's asked you to do this. I mean, why you? Because you're a master of the road movie. I mean, thinking about Santo do Brasil or the Motorcycle Diaries. Well, a road movie, I think, is what made me into a filmmaker. And I'm very loyal to it. When you take a step back from the starting point, you understand who you are. And I've always been very touched by this way of telling stories with pictures. And particularly, it's something you ought to invent every day, a bit like Kerouac did. Influenced by jazz and bebop, you've always got to be on the lookout for what you find along the way. And it's a way of creating fantastic images. But as well as that, it's a wonderful novel about the transition from youth to adulthood. Everything that you discover, everything that you lose as well in this transition. So I'm really thrilled to have these wonderful actors with me to embody these characters who touched me a great deal when I was 18. I read it when I was 18, and then I came back to it when I was 25, 30, 35. I'll spare you the other readings afterwards. But so you're 40 years old, right? So anyway, they're very young. They're beautiful. They're young. Garrett Hedlund, Walter Salles was talking about the book, the importance that the book has for you. I mean, you're playing Neal Cassady. I mean, how do you go about doing this? Did you reread the book? How did you go about doing it?
Well, there was, Neal had written this book called The First Third, which was very helpful because it's kind of like his diary in a way, and it gave so much of his self, and you got to see sort of this rare sort of visceral spirit. That was a big help. Plus, of course, rereading the book. We had the scroll version as well that came out after the 50-year anniversary. That was a wonderful help because it was sort of a raw version of the book. The one that came out was sort of cut down in terms of censorship, and the scroll version was very honest, and so that was very helpful. Plus family members and biographers that were able to help us and give us any knowledge that we lacked.
Yes, I imagine that it must have been very important. And Mr. Viggo Mortensen, welcome, hello, who plays William S. Burroughs, Old Bull Lee, in this film. Viggo, you've just arrived, but a question straight away. I mean, what does the Beat Generation represent for you, Viggo?
Je vais essayer en français.
I'll try to do it in French, a bit. Great. Well, I read on the road when I was 17 years old, 17, 18 years old, something like that. And it, I mean, it inspired me to read not only Kerouac, but Ginsberg, Burroughs, of course, and even French writers. Camus, Céline, Rimbaud. I was living in the States at the time. I was living in the state of New York on the Canadian border. And I don't know the South. I don't know the West. And so I traveled a lot afterwards. And by car, hitchhiking and some, to the mountains. And do you find that in the film? Yes, a lot. Yeah, the music, the rhythm, the energy. I think Kerouac's energy is there in On the Road.
Walter Salles
And Walter Salles has really worked a great deal to listen to the period, listen to the post-war period after the war in the US, and you know, that's the sort of artistic base of it all. Kristen Stewart, I get the impression that your character is more present in the film, is stronger in the film than in the book. Is that your impression?
Est-ce que c'est une forme de modernité?
Is it a form of modernity, in a way?
I think it actually had more to do with realizing who she was in reality. You know, there was this really great story that she always used to tell about when she read the book for the first time, and how Jack was so worried about every detail, and she was like, I'm just happy to be in it, and that really says everything about her. I think we were privy to so much untapped information that it was to ignore it. It somehow found its way in. I mean, I think that we stay very true to the scroll. It's just that all of the history and just all of the truths of who she really was and why she did what she did, we don't know from reading the book. But because we knew, it just, I think it found its way in somehow, and that's not me, that's Walter. That's, you know, the 4 weeks that we spent talking to everyone in the Beatnik boot camp really really helped, I think, both women in the movie. They don't function as playthings. You just sort of get, more questions are answered, right, rather than just sort of having a spirit, having an energy, having, you know, yes, of course, that was like what her purpose was in the book, but yeah, I'm glad to hear that too. That's really cool.
Yeah, I imagine that it's your energy as well, which really transcends the character on screen. Sam Riley, being Jack Kerouac, what's it like?
With the mic, please.
It's a very difficult question to answer. Merci beaucoup.
Je sais, c'était pour vous. La question dure, c'était pour vous.
Yeah, you get the hard question. Sorry about that.
Well, I think it was a case of, to begin with, I was listening a lot to the tapes. Walter sent me a beautiful collection of CDs and recordings of him, and I tried very hard to emulate that distinctive voice and changed my shape in some way and learned to type, speak a little French Canadian, which I won't do. J'ai faim.
Oui. Mais on voit bien.
Pas mal, non?
C'est bien, c'est bien. C'est un bon début. C'est bien pour Cannes.
Yeah, it's a good start. A good start. Good for Cannes.
And thank you. But I think then Walter telling me in the boot camp to, at the end of the day, I'm also Sal Paradise, not purely Jack. And so we've tried to lose what was more of an impersonation at the beginning in the first readings of it and find somehow my place in between Sal and Jack.
Belle place.
Merci.
A beautiful place to be in. Kirsten Dunst, you're, you know, Carolyn Cassidy, again, a mythical character. You know, I mean, she writes as well. So you're not necessarily adapting On the Road, but maybe On My Road from Caroline.
Ça vous a aidé, ça?
It's called Off the Road. Off the road. But I was on my own road, I guess. But yeah, no, I was lucky to have that book because everything she's feeling, she wrote down, and I had a reference for even lines in the film or in her book. So that was very helpful for me. But I had read On the Road when I was younger because it's such a book that, like, all the boys you have crushes on read and love, and it's their favorite book. And then I reread it. I listened to it with my dad on a road trip then again. And it was funny to see the generational, you know what I mean, differences of stories and how everyone was raised. But I think that this film feels very modern to me, even though it's a period film. It feels very alive.
It's
very, very alive on screen. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Viggo, Garrett, Sam, and Walter Salles. Thank you very, very much.